The message arrived on a Tuesday. Commander Kim Ju-won of the Earth Diplomatic Corps stood before the holographic display as the alien delegates materialized. The Consortium of Advanced Species had finally deemed humanity worthy of contact. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," announced Delegate Auric of the Arvani, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin. "Your species shows promise, though you are still developing." Ju-won maintained her diplomatic smile despite the condescension in the alien's tone. She hadn't spent 15 years rising through military ranks to be patronized. "The Consortium has protocols for developing species," Auric continued. "For your safety, human expansion beyond your solar system will be restricted. The Arvani will serve as your mentors." That evening, Ju-won sat in her office reviewing the guidelines the Consortium had provided. Humanity, despite achieving faster-than-light travel independently, was being treated like a child among adults. "They've placed a checkpoint at every exit point from our system," reported Lieutenant Park Do-yeon, her second-in-command. "So we're essentially confined to our corner of space," Ju-won replied, her fingers drumming against her desk. "For our protection, of course." Do-yeon nodded grimly. "Of course." The next morning, Ju-won called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. Representatives from all major nations gathered virtually in the United Council chamber. Ju-won stood at the center, her uniform crisp and her expression serious. "The Consortium has effectively put us under house arrest," she explained. "They claim it's temporary, but their documents suggest decades of oversight before we might earn greater freedom." President Ba leaned forward. "Do we have a choice? Their technology far exceeds ours." "That's what they want us to believe," Ju-won replied. "But our scientists have analyzed the data they shared. The gap isn't as wide as they suggest." Defense Minister Han frowned. "Are you suggesting we reject their terms?" "No," Ju-won said. "I'm suggesting we play along while preparing alternatives." 6 months passed. The Arvani established an embassy on Earth and began cultural exchange programs. They shared carefully selected technological insights while collecting vast amounts of data on human society. Ju-won was assigned as the primary liaison. Each day, she met with Auric and his team, answering their questions while asking her own. The Arvani seemed genuinely curious about humans, but their curiosity had an edge to it, like scientists studying interesting specimens. "Your species adapts remarkably quickly," Auric noted during one meeting. "It's both your strength and your greatest risk." "Risk?" Ju-won asked innocently. "Many developing species burn brightly but briefly," Auric explained. "They advance too quickly and self-destruct. The Consortium's guidance prevents such tragedies." After the meeting, Ju-won met secretly with her team in a secure room designed by Earth engineers to block all known surveillance methods. "They're afraid of us," she told them. "Not now, but what we might become." Do-yeon displayed the data they'd gathered. "We've identified 7 other developing species under Consortium supervision. All have been restricted for at least 200 years. So much for temporary oversight," muttered Captain Nam. Ju-won nodded. "I've been authorized to implement Phoenix Protocol. We smile and comply officially while building our strength privately." The team worked tirelessly. While the official Earth government cooperated with Consortium representatives, a shadow research division operated in hidden facilities across the planet and beneath the lunar surface. 3 years into the mentorship, Ju-won received a coded message during a routine inspection of the lunar colony. She excused herself from Auric's presence and found Do-yeon waiting in a maintenance tunnel. "We've done it," he whispered. "The barrier shield works. We can hide an entire ship from their sensors." Ju-won kept her face neutral despite her excitement. "How soon can we test it beyond orbit?" 2 weeks. The prototype vessel is almost ready." The prototype was named Sparrow. Small, unassuming, but designed to fly where others couldn't see. It carried Earth's best stealth technology combined with reverse-engineered Consortium systems. On launch day, Ju-won met with Auric for their weekly progress report. She discussed Earth's advancements in the approved fields while the Sparrow slipped away from the dark side of the moon, crewed by Doyun and a small team of specialists. "Your people learn quickly," Auric said, seeming pleased. "Perhaps in another decade, we might discuss limited exploration rights to your neighboring systems." "We appreciate your guidance," Juwan replied, checking her watch discreetly. The Sparrow would be approaching the checkpoint now. For 3 tense hours, she maintained pleasant conversation while receiving periodic coded updates through her neural implant. Finally, the message she waited for arrived. "Bird has flown the nest." The Sparrow had passed the checkpoint undetected. Humans had just taken their first unsupervised step into the galaxy. Over the next year, the Sparrow made 12 covert missions, mapping nearby systems and gathering intelligence about the wider galaxy. Each time, they returned with more concerning news. "The Consortium isn't just restricting us," Dohyun reported after their latest mission. "They're exploiting resources in systems they've declared off-limits to developing species." Juwan reviewed the evidence. The Consortium had claimed certain regions were too dangerous for younger species, yet their own mining operations thrived there. Others were supposedly protected for cultural preservation, yet advanced Consortium research stations orbited primitive worlds. "They're not mentors," she concluded. "They're gatekeepers." The turning point came unexpectedly. During a routine diplomatic function, an intoxicated junior member of the Arvani delegation approached Juwan. "You know, we weren't always mentors," he said quietly. "My grandfather told me stories. The Arvani were once like you, restricted, guided, controlled. It took us 3 centuries to earn our place. And now you do the restricting," Juwan observed. The Arvani looked ashamed. "The alternative is worse. Species that resist Consortium oversight tend to disappear." The next day, Juwan presented this information to Earth's Security Council. "We have 2 options," she concluded. "Continue this charade for centuries until they deem us worthy, or take our future into our own hands." President Ba looked troubled. "If we openly defy them, we risk everything." "True independence always carries risk," Juwan replied. "But humans don't ask for permission when our freedom is at stake." The vote was unanimous. Operation Breakaway would begin. As Juwan left the chamber, she smiled for the first time in years. The Consortium was about to learn an important lesson about humanity. When humans decide something matters, they don't ask for permission. 5 years passed under the Consortium's watchful eye. Captain Kim Ju-won sat in her command chair aboard the ENN's Pathfinder, Earth's most advanced vessel. Her fingers moved across the holographic star chart displayed before her. The ship hummed quietly as it orbited Earth's moon, officially conducting routine sensor calibrations. "Captain, we've detected a distress signal," reported Communications Officer Lee Soman. Her eyes widened as she analyzed the data. "It's coming from the Helios Nebula." Ju-won frowned. "That's in the Forbidden Zone." The Forbidden Zone encompassed nearly a third of this galactic sector. The Consortium had declared it off-limits to all developing species, citing extreme dangers like radiation storms, unstable wormholes, and hostile entities. No human had ever been permitted to enter it. "The signal indicates survivors aboard a damaged vessel," Soman continued. "I've forwarded it to Consortium headquarters as protocol demands." Ju-won nodded, but her jaw tightened. Protocol meant delay. Protocol meant asking permission. Protocol likely meant more deaths. 2 weeks passed. The Consortium Council held 3 emergency sessions to discuss the appropriate response. Meanwhile, the distress signal grew weaker. Ju-won attended each video meeting, watching with growing frustration as representatives debated the political implications of a rescue mission. The Arvani delegation insisted on caution, recommending a specialized team be assembled and properly equipped. "The preparations will take another week," Auric explained during the latest session. "We must follow proper procedures." "The signal is failing," Ju-won countered. "There may not be survivors left in a week." "That would be unfortunate," another Consortium member stated flatly. but rushing into the Forbidden Zone unprepared would be reckless. The Pathfinder is not equipped for such dangers. After the meeting ended, Juwan sat alone in her quarters aboard the Pathfinder. On her desk sat a small stone from Earth's Jeju Island, a reminder of home. She picked it up, feeling its weight in her palm. 5 years of asking permission. 5 years of being told to wait. 5 years of humanity being treated like children. Her decision crystallized in that moment. She activated her communication panel. Assemble all senior officers in the tactical room. Immediately. 20 minutes later, Juwan faced her command crew. Their faces showed curiosity mixed with concern. The Consortium won't act in time, she told them directly. I'm taking the Pathfinder to the Helios Nebula to rescue the survivors. Silence filled the room. Engineer Kang rubbed his beard nervously. Captain, he said, that's a direct violation of Consortium directives. It is, Juwan agreed. This is voluntary. Anyone who wishes to remain behind will face no consequences. I'll note in my log that you followed orders. She looked at each officer in turn. I won't order any of you to risk your careers or possibly your lives. This is my decision alone. Not a single officer left the room. Navigator Park spoke first. We have enough fuel to reach the Helios Nebula in 3 days at maximum speed. The rescue pods are fully stocked. Added Medical Officer Yoon. I can mask our emissions signature for approximately 12 hours, offered Tactical Officer Choi. It won't fool them forever, but it might give us enough head start. Juwan felt a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best. Prepare the ship. We depart in 2 hours. The Pathfinder slipped away from Earth's orbital dock under the cover of a routine exercise. The ship's official flight plan showed a journey to the outer solar system to test new sensor arrays. By the time the Arvani realized what had happened, Juwan and her crew were already approaching the boundary of the Forbidden Zone. Warnings flashed across the command screens as they crossed the invisible line. We're receiving automated alerts, Solman reported. The Consortium is ordering us to turn back immediately. Acknowledge receipt but continue course, Juwan replied. An hour later, Oroc's face appeared on the main screen. His normally calm demeanor had given way to visible agitation. Captain Kim, you are in direct violation of Consortium law. Return to Earth space immediately. We've detected survivors in distress, Juwan responded calmly. As per universal maritime and space law, we are obligated to render assistance. The Forbidden Zone is beyond your authority. A Consortium rescue team will be dispatched within 5 days. The survivors may not have 5 days. We're already en route and will reach them in 48 hours. Oroc's skin pulsed with angry colors. The consequences for this action will be severe. Your government will be sanctioned. Noted. Pathfinder out. Juwan cut the transmission. The ship plunged deeper into the Forbidden Zone. Contrary to Consortium warnings, they encountered no immediate dangers. The nebula's gases created beautiful patterns of light outside their viewports. Sensors detect no unusual radiation, reported Science Officer Min. No sign of the spatial anomalies we were warned about. Keep alert, Juwan cautioned. The danger may be real, even if exaggerated. On the second day, they encountered their first obstacle, a field of debris spanning their flight path. Navigator Park skillfully guided the ship through the maze of twisted metal and rock. Some of this debris appears artificial, Min noted, and very old. Signs of a battle? Juwan asked. Possibly. The damage patterns suggest weapons fire. They continued forward. The distress signal grew stronger as they approached its source. Captain, Tactical Officer Choi said suddenly, I'm detecting an energy signature. It's not from the damaged ship. Hostile. Unknown. But it's large and moving toward the distress signal. Juwan straightened in her chair. Time to intercept. 4 hours, approximately the same time, will arrive. Push engines to maximum. We need to get there first. The Pathfinder surged forward, its engines glowing brightly against the nebula's colorful backdrop. Crew members worked tirelessly at their stations, monitoring systems pushed beyond their recommended limits. 3 hours later, they finally spotted their target, a ship roughly twice the size of the Pathfinder, drifting powerless among the nebula gases. Its hull was damaged, but largely intact. "Life signs?" Juwan asked. "Confirmed," Min replied. "Approximately 30 individuals, species unknown, and the approaching energy signature. 20 minutes out, Captain." Juwan made her decision. "Prepare for emergency docking and rapid evacuation. I want those survivors aboard in 15 minutes." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Pathfinder extended its docking tube, creating a temporary airlock with the damaged vessel. Security teams went in first, followed by medical personnel. Inside, they found beings unlike any humans had encountered before. They stood on 4 limbs with slender torsos and facial features that reminded Juwan of Earth's sea creatures. The aliens reacted with surprise and then relief at the sight of the rescue team. One stepped forward, activating a translation device. "You are not Consortium." "No," Juwan replied. "We're humans from Earth. We received your distress call." "The Consortium ignored us," the alien said, "as they have for decades." Before Juwan could respond, Choi's voice came through her communicator. "Captain, the energy signature has accelerated. Arrival in 5 minutes." "Complete evacuation now," Juwan ordered. As the last survivors boarded the Pathfinder, the mysterious energy signature revealed itself, a Consortium battlecruiser emerging from light speed. "All hands, prepare for emergency departure," Juwan announced. "We're leaving with our new friends." The Pathfinder detached from the damaged vessel just as the battlecruiser opened fire, not on them, but on the abandoned ship, which exploded in a flash of light. "They're destroying the evidence," Juwan realized aloud. "Maximum speed. Take us home." The Pathfinder turned and accelerated away from the explosion, carrying its crew and the rescue aliens toward Earth, and toward a confrontation that would change the course of human history in the stars. The crashed ship was wedged between 2 asteroids, its hull breached in multiple places. The Pathfinder hovered nearby, scanning the wreckage. Captain Juwan stood on the bridge, watching the main screen with concern. The damaged vessel looked worse than they had expected. "Their life support is failing," reported Science Officer Kang Minji. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel as she analyzed the data. "And there's a spatial anomaly forming nearby. We have maybe 3 hours before it engulfs their position." Juwan frowned. This was more dangerous than they had anticipated. The ship was not simply damaged. It was trapped between 2 massive asteroids that were slowly crushing it. And now, a strange space distortion was growing nearby, threatening to swallow everything in its path. The communication system beeped. On the screen appeared the stern face of an Arvani commander. "Return immediately," the alien ordered. "You have violated Consortium law by entering the Forbidden Zone. A specialized rescue team will be dispatched after proper assessment." Juwan kept her face neutral. "How long until your team arrives?" The Arvani hesitated. "Approximately 48 hours." Juwan checked her own data. In 48 hours, both the trapped ship and the growing anomaly would be gone, along with any survivors. "I'll consider your order," she said, then cut the transmission. The bridge crew looked at her, waiting for her decision. Juwan didn't hesitate. "Begin rescue operations," she ordered. The crew sprang into action. Lieutenant Park coordinated the rescue team while Engineer Choi prepared the equipment. Outside the ship, the spatial anomaly continued to grow, distorting light around its edges. "Standard equipment won't work near that anomaly," Choi reported after initial scans. "The magnetic interference is too strong." Juwan joined him in the equipment bay. "What can we do?" Choi scratched his head, then pointed to the shield generators. "We could repurpose these. Create a stable corridor to the damaged vessel. It's risky, but possible." "Do it," Juwan said. The next hour was a blur of activity. Choi, and his engineering team worked frantically, modifying equipment that was never designed for this purpose. When standard tools failed, they improvised, creating solutions from available materials. The anomaly is growing faster than predicted. Minji's voice came through the communication system. We now have less than 2 hours. Choi looked up from his work, sweat dripping from his forehead. We're ready to test the shield corridor. Jiwan nodded. Proceed. Outside the ship, energy beams shot from the modified equipment, creating a shimmering tunnel through space. It connected the Pathfinder to the crashed vessel, bypassing the worst of the spatial distortion. It's working, Choi exclaimed. But I don't know how long it will hold. Jiwan immediately assembled the rescue team. 6 crew members, including herself, prepared to cross through the energy corridor to reach the trapped ship. The atmosphere inside is breathable, but toxic with long exposure, Minji warned as they suited up. You have 30 minutes before you need to return. The team entered the corridor. Walking through it felt strange, like moving through thick water while completely dry. The energy field hummed around them, occasionally crackling when the anomaly's interference grew stronger. They reached the damaged ship and cut through the sealed airlock. Inside, the air was thin and cold. Emergency lights cast red shadows across twisted metal corridors. Life signs this way, directed Medical Officer Yoon, pointing to her scanner. They moved deeper into the vessel, climbing through damaged sections and crawling under fallen beams. The ship groaned around them as the asteroids continued their slow crush. In what appeared to be the ship's control center, they found the survivors. 12 aliens huddled together, their blue skin pale from cold and lack of oxygen. They looked up in surprise at the human rescue team. One stepped forward, taller than the others, with markings that suggested authority. You are not Consortium, the alien said in halting universal standard, the trade language taught by the Consortium. We're humans, Juan replied. We received your distress signal. The alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. I am Captain Ran of the research vessel Horizon Light. We are Nefari. Juan had never heard of the Nefari. They were certainly not one of the species the Consortium had introduced to humanity. We need to evacuate immediately, Juan explained, gesturing to the injured Nefari. Your ship is being crushed, and there's a spatial anomaly approaching. We've been sending distress signals for months, Captain Ran explained as Juwan's team began helping the weakest Nefari to their feet. The Consortium kept promising aid was coming. Juwan's communicator crackled. Captain, the shield corridor is becoming unstable, Choi reported. The anomaly is accelerating. Begin evacuation now, Juwan ordered. As they prepared to leave, Captain Ran pointed to a sealed compartment. The research data, it must be saved. Juwan hesitated for only a moment. How large is it? Our main computer core. There. Ran pointed to a cylindrical object, the size of a small refrigerator. Can it be removed? Yes, but it requires power to maintain stability. Juwan turned to Engineer Kim, who had accompanied the rescue team. Can we do it? Kim examined the device. Maybe. If we connect it to our portable power cells. But it will slow us down. The anomaly will reach the ship in 20 minutes, Minji warned through the communicator. Juwan made her decision. We take it. Help me disconnect it. Working together, the humans and Nefari detached the computer core from its housing. Kim quickly connected it to their power cells. It's stable for now, he reported, but heavy. I'll carry it, volunteered Security Officer Han, the strongest member of the team. They began their retreat through the damaged ship, moving as quickly as possible while supporting injured Nefari and carrying the precious data core. The ship creaked and groaned around them, metal twisting as the asteroid shifted. When they reached the airlock, Choi's voice came through with urgency. The corridor is failing. The anomaly is affecting our shield generators. They could see it through the airlock window. Their safe passage back to the Pathfinder was flickering, sections dissolving into the growing spatial distortion. We need to stabilize it, Juwan said, looking at the Nefari captain. Captain Rand pointed to the data core. Our research was on spatial stabilization. The core contains prototype technology. Can we use it? Not directly, but Rand turned to one of his crew, who quickly retrieved a small device from his clothing. This controller interfaces with it. Kim examined the alien technology. I think I can connect this to our shield generators. Create a feedback loop. How long? 5 minutes. The anomaly will reach us in 8, Minji warned. Working frantically, Kim and the Nefari technician combined their technologies, creating an improvised system unlike anything either species had designed before. Human power cells fed the Nefari controller, which in turn regulated the failing shield corridor. It's working, Kim exclaimed as the corridor stabilized, though it now pulsed with strange colors. Everyone through, now, Juwan ordered. They moved through the corridor as quickly as possible, half carrying the injured Nefari. Behind them, the crashed ship groaned as the asteroid shifted again. The anomaly touched its outer hull, metal disappearing into nothingness where they connected. The last team member stepped aboard the Pathfinder just as the corridor collapsed completely. Through the viewport, they watched as the spatial anomaly engulfed the crashed ship, erasing it from existence. Get us out of here, Juwan ordered Navigator Park. As the Pathfinder turned and accelerated away from the anomaly, Juwan looked at the rescued Nefari. They were already receiving medical attention from Officer Yoon. Captain Ran approached her. Your species took great risk for strangers. We couldn't leave you to die, Juwan replied simply. The Consortium would have, Rand said quietly, and has before. Their eyes met in silent understanding. Something important had just begun, not just a rescue, but perhaps the first step toward a new alliance. The Pathfinder sped away from the Forbidden Zone, carrying evidence that would soon challenge everything the Consortium had told humanity about the galaxy. The Pathfinder emerged from the Forbidden Zone with its engines, training, and hull showing minor damage. Captain Juwan ordered the ship to maintain position just outside the boundary. They needed time to tend to the injured Nefari and assess their own situation before returning to Earth. The communication alert sounded almost immediately. Juwan nodded to Officer Lee, who activated the main screen. The angry face of Delegate Auric appeared, his normally iridescent skin pulsing with dark colors. Captain Kim, he began, his voice cold, you will return the Pathfinder to Earth orbital dock immediately for disciplinary action. Juwan remained calm. We have injured aliens aboard who need medical attention. You violated over 30 protocols, he scolded, ignoring her explanation. Your reckless behavior could have started an interstellar incident. The Forbidden Zone is restricted for good reason. We saved 12 lives that would have been lost if we had waited for Consortium permission, Juwan replied. That is not your decision to make. Auric's skin flashed with angry patterns. The Consortium Council will determine appropriate sanctions against Earth for this violation. Return immediately. Instead of arguing further, Juwan simply nodded. We'll set course for Earth. Pathfinder out. She ended the transmission before Aura could respond. Lieutenant Park looked concerned. Are we really going back to face punishment? Eventually, Juwan answered. But first, we need to understand what we found. She turned to Science Officer Minji, who was working with 2 of the healthier Nefari to access their rescued data core. The alien device hummed quietly in the science lab, connected to the ship's systems through a maze of improvised adapters. How's it coming? Juwan asked. Minji looked up from her screen. Captain, you need to see this, she said quietly. Juwan approached the workstation. On the screen, star maps and resource surveys filled multiple windows. Minji pointed to highlighted regions. This is the Forbidden Zone according to Consortium maps, she explained, then swiped to a new image. And this is what the Nefari have mapped. Juwan studied the difference. There are habitable planets not listed in Consortium records. 17 of them, Minji confirmed. And look at this. She opened another file showing mineral and element surveys. These asteroids contain concentrated deposits of rare elements, the kind essential for advanced technology. The Forbidden Zone isn't dangerous, Juwan realized. It's valuable. Exactly. The voice came from behind them. Captain Ran of the Nefari stood in the doorway, supported by one of his crew members. Though still weak, he had insisted on joining the discussion. "Please, sit," Juwan offered, guiding the alien to a chair. Rand's 4 eyes blinked in gratitude. "What you call the Forbidden Zone, we call the Free Systems. My people have lived there for generations, hidden from Consortium control. The Consortium told us the zone was filled with deadly anomalies and hostile entities," Juwan said. "There are anomalies, yes, like the one that almost destroyed our ship," Ran acknowledged. "But they are predictable, mappable. The Consortium exaggerates their danger to justify restrictions." Minji opened another file. "According to this data, there are at least 5 other intelligent species living within the Forbidden Zone." 6, including yours?" Juwan asked Ran. 7, including a branch of the Arvani themselves, Ran corrected. "The Consortium has been containing developing species for centuries. They classify regions as forbidden to maintain their advantage." Juwan's communicator beeped. "Captain, you should come to medical," Officer Yoon requested. "One of the Nefari wishes to speak with you. She says she's their diplomat." In the medical bay, a female Nefari with elaborate skin markings sat upright on an examination table. Unlike Captain Ran, her coloration was deep purple rather than blue. "I am Ta, diplomatic liaison for the Free Systems Alliance," she introduced herself. "Captain Ran tells me you defied your mentors to rescue us. We couldn't ignore your distress call," Juwan replied simply. Tai studied her with all 4 eyes. Few species under Consortium control would dare such defiance. Most believe the lies they are told. "We're beginning to see through them," Juwan said. "Then perhaps you are ready for the complete truth." Ta held out a small crystalline object. "This contains evidence gathered over centuries by species like mine. The Consortium's true purpose is not protection, but resource control and technological suppression." Juwan took the crystal. "Why are you sharing this with us?" "Because humans have proven themselves different," Tai explained. "You acted when others would have debated. You saved lives when others would have calculated political costs. The Alliance has been watching Earth for years, hoping you might become allies." Juwan raised an eyebrow. "You've been watching us. How?" "We have our methods of moving undetected," Ta said with a gesture that might have been a smile. "The Consortium's monitoring is thorough but not perfect." For the next 6 hours, Juwan and her senior officers reviewed the data from both the Nefari ship and Ta's crystal. The evidence was overwhelming and disturbing. The Consortium wasn't simply a galactic peacekeeping organization. It was a cartel that maintained power by keeping developing species isolated and dependent. Those who showed too much independence were subtly sabotaged or, in extreme cases, suffered natural disasters that set them back centuries. "They've been playing a very long game," Juwan said as they concluded their review. "Earth was never going to be granted true independence." "What do we do with this information?" asked Lieutenant Park. "First, we need to verify it," Juwan decided, "and reach out to these other restricted species." Over the next month, the Pathfinder claimed engine troubles that delayed their return to Earth. Using communication methods provided by the Nefari that bypassed Consortium monitoring, Juwan established contact with representatives from other species under Consortium protection. From each, she heard the same story of control disguised as mentorship. Some had been restricted for centuries, their technological development deliberately stunted through limited access to resources and knowledge. The Helio people have been at the same technological level for over 400 years. Minji reported after one such communication. Every time they approach space travel capacity, mysterious failures occur. The Consortium ensures dependent clients, not equal partners, Tactical Officer Choi added. Meanwhile, the political situation grew tense. Earth's government faced increasing pressure from the Consortium for harboring the rogue Pathfinder. Sanctions had already been imposed, limiting trade and technological exchanges. Juwon gathered her crew on the main deck. They had been away from home for weeks, operating in secret, risking their careers and possibly Earth's standing with the Consortium. "I need to be honest with you," she told them. "What we're doing could be interpreted as treason by Earth authorities. If anyone wishes to return home now and distance themselves from our actions, I understand." The crew exchanged glances. Engineer Kim stood first. "With respect, Captain, we've seen the evidence," he said. "We can't unsee it. We can't go back to asking permission from those who mean to keep us contained." One by one, the others nodded in agreement. Juwon felt pride swell in her chest. "Then we continue. Our next step is to bring this information to Earth without the Consortium intercepting it." "And then?" asked Navigator Park. Juwon looked around at her crew, then to the Nefari representatives who had joined them on the bridge. "We're not the only ones tired of asking permission," she told them. "It's time to build a new alliance, one based on cooperation, not control." As the Pathfinder prepared for its return journey, a message arrived from Earth. It was coded using an old military cipher that wouldn't be recognized by Consortium monitors. The message was brief but clear. "Evidence received. Seeds planted. Return when ready. Earth stands with you." Juwon smiled. The revolution had already begun. The Pathfinder approached Earth after its long absence. 6 Consortium vessels surrounded it like prison guards escorting a dangerous criminal. Captain Juwon stood on the bridge, watching her home planet grow larger on the view screen. She had expected to return in chains. "Incoming transmission from Earth Defense," reported Officer Lee. Instead of the stern face of a Consortium official, the screen showed Director Yang Jun, head of Earth's defense forces. His expression was not angry but determined. "Captain Kim," he said, "welcome home. Your situation has changed." Juwon raised an eyebrow. "Sir, the data packets you sent reached us. We've verified the evidence." Yang's voice was steady. "Earth's position has changed." After landing, Juwon was escorted not to a detention cell, but to Earth's Central Command. The building hummed with unusual activity. Officials hurried through corridors. Screens displayed ships moving into defensive positions around the planet. Director Yang met her in a secure conference room. "The Consortium has called an emergency session," he explained. "They're threatening sanctions against humanity for our rebellion. They want you to apologize publicly." Juwon looked around the room at Earth's leadership. She had expected to face court-martial. Instead, they looked at her with respect. "They want me to apologize for saving lives?" she asked. "They want you to reinforce the narrative that humans need guidance," Yang clarified. "To show other species that even our heroes bow to Consortium wisdom." Juwon smiled. "I'll address them, but not with an apology." For 3 days, Juwon worked with Earth officials and the representatives from the Free Systems Alliance who had secretly traveled to Earth. Together, they prepared for the confrontation that would change humanity's place in the galaxy. The Consortium Council session was set for the Grand Assembly Hall in the Arvani Embassy. Massive white columns framed the entrance. Inside, representatives from all major Consortium species sat in elevated seats, looking down at the speaking floor as if judging from on high. Auroch stood at the center, his iridescent skin pulsing with official patterns. "This emergency session addresses the serious violations committed by Earth forces," he began. "Captain Kim Juwon will now offer formal apologies and accept the Consortium's judgment." The doors swung open. Juwon entered, but she wasn't alone. Representatives from 11 developing species walked with her, including Tai and Captain Ran of the Nefari. The Consortium delegates murmured in shock. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded the head counselor, a massive being with translucent skin. Only Earth representatives were summoned. Juwon stepped forward. "These are my witnesses and allies. If I am to be judged, they will speak to my actions." Before the council could object, Juwon activated a small device. The room's main display screen came under her control, bypassing Consortium security. For 5 years, humanity has asked permission to explore our galaxy, she began. We've followed your rules, accepted your limitations, trusted your guidance. But when lives were at stake, we remembered who we are. Images appeared on the screen. The Nephari rescue. The data about resource-rich worlds hidden in forbidden zones, evidence of Consortium sabotage against advancing species. The Pathfinder's mission revealed the truth that you've hidden for centuries, Chuan continued. The forbidden zones aren't dangerous. They're valuable. The developing species aren't being protected. They're being controlled. The council chamber erupted in protests. Orc stepped forward, his skin flashing angry colors. This is outrageous. These claims are fabrications. Are they? Juan countered. She nodded to Tai, who activated her own device. New images appeared. Secret Consortium mining operations in supposedly deadly regions, weapons aimed at protected worlds, records of deliberate technological suppression spanning centuries. Captain Rand's people have collected this evidence for generations, Chuan explained. The Helio people have confirmed it. So have the Vorans and the Zenti. Each named representative stepped forward, adding their testimony. We trusted you as mentors, Juan said, addressing the council directly. Instead, you've been our jailers. That ends today. The head counselor rose from his seat, towering over the assembly. You forget your place, human. The Consortium has maintained peace for millennia. Without our guidance, chaos would reign. Without your control, innovation would flourish, Juan countered. Species would develop according to their own paths, not your carefully managed timeline. She turned to address not just the council, but the cameras broadcasting throughout the system. When humans decide something matters, we don't ask for permission. We act. Your system of control disguised as protection ends today. Earth and our allies are forming a new coalition based on mutual respect and cooperation. Across Earth, citizens watch the broadcast in stunned silence. In homes, workplaces, and public squares, they heard their captain challenge the powers that had claimed to be their benefactors. On the Consortium worlds, the transmission cut in and out as sensors tried to block it. But the signal, enhanced by technology from multiple allied species, proved difficult to silence completely. You threaten the stability of the galaxy, shouted one Consortium member. We threaten your monopoly, Juan corrected. There's a difference. She activated the final piece of evidence, the Pathfinder's scans of the spatial anomaly that had nearly destroyed the Nephari ship. This wasn't a natural phenomenon, she explained. Our analysis shows it was artificially generated, a weapon designed to eliminate ships that discover too much. The council chamber fell silent. How many ships have been lost to natural dangers in the forbidden zones? Juan asked quietly. How many species have you erased because they asked too many questions? Several junior council members looked uncomfortable, glancing at their leaders with new uncertainty. Earth rejects further Consortium oversight, Juan declared. We withdraw from all agreements made under false pretenses, as do our allies. The head counselor's voice boomed through the chamber. You have no authority to make such declarations. Guards, detain these rebels. Security forces moved toward Juan and her allies, but they stopped when Director Yang stood. The decision has already been made, he said. Earth's defensive fleet is activated. Any hostile action against this delegation will be considered an act of war. On screens throughout the chamber, images appeared of Earth ships moving into defensive formations. They were joined by vessels of unusual design, ships from the Free Systems Alliance that had been hiding in Earth's shadow, invisible to Consortium sensors. We're not asking you to join us, Juan said firmly to the council. We're informing you of our decision. She turned away from the podium. Her allies formed a line behind her as they walked toward the exit. This is not over, human, Aura called after her. Juan paused at the doorway and looked back. You're right. It's just beginning. As she walked out of the chamber with her new allies, Communications networks across the galaxy broadcast her message to every species under Consortium control. On 100 worlds, beings who had been told they were too primitive for full galactic citizenship heard a new voice offering partnership instead of patronage. On the steps of the embassy, Juan looked up at the stars visible in Earth's evening sky. For centuries, the Consortium had controlled which stars species could visit, which resources they could access, which technologies they could develop. Was it worth the risk? Asked Ta, standing beside her. Juan nodded. Freedom always is. Behind them, representatives from Earth and 11 other species began discussions about their new alliance, one built on cooperation rather than control. Above them, ships from a dozen worlds moved into defensive formation, ready to protect their shared future. A new era had begun, not with humanity asking permission, but by simply deciding it was time. The end.